Hello and welcome to Outlook on Air. This podcast is designed to keep you connected with all things Outlook, with special emphasis on our enrichment program and its many activities and services. On this podcast, we'll hear from Outlook associates, donors to our many programs, clients of our services, and much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this edition of Outlook on Air. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Outlook on Air. And once again, I'm your host, Dennis Nelson. Good to have each and every one of you along. And again, I hope we have another interesting podcast for you this time around. Certainly have some great content. Recently, Outlook held a golf clinic, and they encouraged young women who were interested in golfing to get involved. And we have a couple of young women with us today. Nice young ladies here. And one of them you know very well from previous podcasts. Of course, I'm talking about Megan Mackie. She's here, and so is Marisa Ethofer as well. And we're going to bring them on and let them tell you about all the fun they had at the golf clinic, and we'll find out what they learned and all that sort of thing. Can each of you take turns and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey with vision loss?
I'm Marisa Ethofer, and I've had Stargardt's since I was born. So my vision loss has been my entire life. So Stargardt's it takes away your central vision, so I only have peripheral. Went to public school like all the rest of the kids, and went to college and got a bachelor's degree. And then I started working here at Outlook in 2013 and been at Outlook ever since.
And what do you do here at Outlook?
I'm the HR Generalist. I help associates with benefits questions, policy questions, reprint pay stubs for them, work with Mark on like developing policies, all that kind of fun stuff.
Keeps you busy, I know that.
Yes, it does.
And Megan, how about you?
My name is Megan Mackie, and my vision loss journey started not until I was about 30. I've been diabetic since I was 3 years old, so around 30 I started having retina detachments from diabetic retinopathy, and it's been an up and down journey since then. My vision is always changing. I'm always losing a little bit more. I have no central vision, no peripheral vision, and very little use of color or depth perception. So it's always an exciting journey no matter what I'm trying to do. But I work here at Outlook coordinating recreational activities, sporting activities, social activities, cultural activities, whatever activities people want to do or try to do, we try to make that happen.
Well, that sounds good. I know that one thing the two of you have in common is that you participated in a golfer's clinic. So I'm just wondering if you had ever considered, either of you, playing golf before learning about the golfer's clinic.
Not in my life. I'm not a sporty girl. Just never thought I would be any sort of good at it or even be able to hit the ball at all. But with the help of Steve, he taught me how to have the stance, and we practiced a lot. And I was able to actually hit the ball quite a few times.
That's awesome. Good job. How about you, Megan?
I come from a family of golfers, but until 2 years ago had also never golfed. I never played a sport growing up. I'm brand new to golf, so I did not think it would be something that I would be doing, but you kind of catch a bug, like they say, and once you start, you kind of get obsessed with getting better.
So is that what you would say motivated you to try the Outlook Enrichment Blind Golfers Clinic?
Well, for years I've been helping organize the Blind Golfers Clinic for our youth group, but I've never picked up a golf club. Mm-hmm. It was under the encouragement of Nina Rungish that I joined the Blind Golfers Clinic last year. Last year was very rough. I will say this year I was, by some miracle, a little bit better. It's not something that was my idea.
Any additional thoughts, Marisa?
Similar story to Megan. I mean, Nina very much encouraged me to be like, hey, you should be on the women's golf team. I was like, well, you find somebody to teach me and I'll give it a go. So that's what happened.
So what were your initial thoughts or feelings before stepping onto the course for the first time?
Based on my practices, I also was pretty unconfident about what I was going to do. There would be days where practice would go really good, and then the next time it would go really bad. So I also took a little time off over the break between last year and this year, and somehow this year something changed. It was not with practice. It was just randomly that I was able to hit the ball a little bit farther this time. But really, I didn't know what to expect. I just have, since I've never golfed before, I don't have the right form, I don't feel like. I think somebody would have an easier time if they maybe used to be a golfer because you could keep the form and the swing, but that whole concept is still foreign to me, and I just can't get down like doing the same thing twice, no matter how many times it's explained to me.
Is that pretty much your experience as well, Marisa?
I think I got in my head a little too much at the beginning and just like nervous and like, oh my gosh, there's actually people out here watching me swing, even if I can't see them. And it was a little rough at the beginning, but by the end of it, like we were having fun. I was hitting the ball more consistently and further. So that was nice.
So can you describe your first experience holding a golf club or hitting a ball for that matter?
The very first time, I think we had done like a team building activity with Eric, like in the office. And it was just like putting towards like those little putting greens. And that was it.
Hooked ever since, huh?
Not really. But
Megan, how about you?
I would go back to the feeling of frustration. At first, I was like chunking it way ahead of the ball, and our volunteer guides kind of set me up to accommodate for that by making me put my club in front of the ball so that hopefully when I did my wild swing, it would come back somewhere near the ball. So I would say a majority of my first practice, I was hitting the ground instead of the ball.
Bummer.
Yeah. And I'm very competitive, so
Sure.
It gets me like wound up, and I consistently am going way too fast, bringing my head up. I mean,
there's so many things to like think about, like body wise, like don't move your head, only move your arm this much, or don't bend whatever elbow and keep your knees loose and
and it all goes out the door right when you're about to swing it.
You're right.
How did the Blind Golfers Clinic prepare you for the tournament?
Well, that is the only preparation that I had outside of attempting to go golfing with my boyfriend a couple times. But the thing about being a blind golfer is you may be able to, for me, I can see where the ball is before I hopefully hit it, but I don't know where it goes after that. So it's just having a set of eyes on you for me to let me know like what could help my technique, but then also somebody to let you know how far did it go? Are you going to the right or to the left? For somebody that can't see where the ball is going, those are really helpful hints.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the golf simulator and Steve, probably wouldn't have been anywhere near ready for the tournament.
We have volunteers that volunteered to be kind of our golf coaches, and they gave up every other Saturday for a number of months. And for Marisa, somebody met up with her in the morning before work, but it's kind of like having a one-on-one golf coach. So without, starting with that, there would have been no hope.
Right. For sure.
Wow. So what was it like being part of the Tee It Up for Sight golf tournament?
I mean, really, everybody's so spread out. It was kind of just like we were the only people there.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're able to play fast enough, that's the only stressful thing I think about golf is is the etiquette that you're supposed to not hold up the people behind you, and when you have to swing multiple times to even hit the ball, sometimes you tend to get a little bit backed up. But unless we were running really behind, it just kind of seemed like the four of us were out there, golfing. It was a long day, as I wasn't used to golfing 18 holes, but it was an encouraging environment. And really, once everybody loosened up a little bit, we had a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time.
That's awesome. Were there any moments during the tournament that really stood out to either one of you?
I think we spent more time looking for balls than actually like swinging clubs. Because and that's kind of the nice thing is like, even we just hit where we hit, and the other golfers are the same way. Like it goes where it goes. So it wasn't even like blindsided. It didn't really matter that much. It's just we didn't get to drive the carts.
I would like to bring to everyone's attention that I sunk a 25-foot putt. It was amazing. I couldn't do it again. I didn't even know that it actually went into the hole until everyone else started cheering. So that was my star moment. The rest is probably better left unsaid, but that is what I would like to have as my standout.
There was a few times we teed off and we went off of your ball because it was like the best ball. Yeah. Compared to even, because the other two that were with us were guys. So I think that's pretty impressive. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but yeah, I did. I did a couple things.
Oh, that's awesome, guys. Has golfing changed anything about how you see yourself or your abilities?
Oh gosh, I've learned to recognize that I have other stronger talents than golfing. I'm very competitive, but this might not exactly be my best sport, or any sport for that matter. But it hasn't changed how I feel about myself. It's just some people are good at some things, some people aren't, but I can still dig out a mean golf outfit and have a good time, but probably not going to make a tour anytime soon.
Okay, well, so much for the next question. Do you see golf becoming a part of your regular activity?
I mean, honestly, not really, just because of the fact that it's not really a blind people's sport. You have to have somebody with you to help you find the ball, make sure you're pointed in the right direction when you swing. And I mean, a lot of people don't have a person that's that patient that wants to spend the time, focusing on you instead of their own golf game. So just because you have to have a sighted person alongside you for the game, I don't see myself making it a really regular part of my life, but I will if the opportunity comes up at work where we have, volunteers that want to go golfing with us. I would definitely keep golfing. Just probably I don't have that in my own life.
How about you, Marisa? You feel the same? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any friends that golf. Like, my husband doesn't golf. It's not really something on our radar. I mean, maybe it'd be something great once I, retire, find a new hobby.
I think I remember saying, though, or hearing you say that you wanted to go home and start hitting golf balls into your creek.
I mean, to improve my swing. If I play next year, that would be kind of fun. But I don't know. 18 holes is a long time.
It is.
Especially when you're not good.
What would you say to other visually impaired women or girls who might be a little bit nervous to try golfing or something like it?
You can always try. It doesn't hurt to try. Mm-hmm. And if you like it, then try to find people who want to do it as well. So then you have somebody to go with you or to practice, and they're able to go find all the balls. Once you start getting good, they'll go far.
I think it's a big time right now for ladies sports in general. So there's no better time for us ladies to get out there and do these sports. If you are nervous about it, it's a great idea to do it with other people that are visually impaired, so then you're not all eyes on you and you don't feel like the worst one out there if you've got some other blind co-golfers, I think. So sign up. We'll be ready next year.
So what has this experience that you just went through taught you about yourself, if anything?
I like to make the same mistakes over and over. I do everything way too fast, and I insist on turning my head to look for the ball, even though I know I won't be able to see where it went. So there is a couple of things I probably need to work on.
Yeah, trying to watch the ball go would be nice, but yeah, you like pretend you're like, okay, it's gone. Also, like, I'm not very good at like just giving the ball just a little tap into the hole. Not a good putter. Try to put a little too much muscle behind it. Overshoot a lot.
If you could share one message with other women or girls who are visually impaired and considering trying golf, what would you tell them?
Just to go do it. Kind of like anything in life, especially being visually impaired. And if you, especially living in like a city, you have way more opportunities to just go and do what you want to do. And you can find people that want to do the same things if you want people to go with you. I feel like sometimes that's a big barrier in itself, is just getting up the confidence to be like, yep, I'm going to order an Uber and I'm going to go do what I want to do and not wait at home for somebody to invite me to go do something.
Wow. And that would be a very different experience for a lot of folks to take on for the first time. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you'd like to see added or changed in the future or in future Outlook enrichment clinics or tournaments?
I think in the future, I'd like to incorporate more practices prior to the tournament, but I'd also like to see us continue on after the tournament, maybe golfing some holes or golfing some golf courses in Omaha that are 3 pars or something shorter, maybe a 9-hole 3-par. Mm-hmm. Just getting out on the actual golf course is so different than being in the simulator. The simulator is something you can do to stay busy in the winter, keep tuned up, but getting out there on the course is just a whole different ball game. And I think I'd love to keep getting together as a group and having our volunteer guides with us and hitting some more courses as the summer goes on.
Yeah, I think if we would have been able to do, like 9 holes at Tiburon, that would have been helpful. Just because being visually impaired, for me, going and doing something once for like practice is very beneficial, I find. And it also helps kind of calm the nerves. Like, okay, I've been here before. I kind of know the lay of the land. Just, I don't know. It helps me.
I could very well be golfing anywhere and not be any better, I feel like. It would be cheaper somewhere and shorter and maybe less frustrating, or maybe, I think I would golf at any golf course and it wouldn't make a difference to me. So I just like to get out more often.
Well, I want to thank you both for coming by today and sharing your experiences with the golf clinic and the Tee It Up for Sight golf tournament. And glad you had a chance to take advantage of that opportunity, and as well you should. And I hope that other women and young girls and people that are interested in maybe doing the same kind of thing can find some inspiration from the things you both had to say today. So once again, thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Keeping you informed with all things Outlook on Air.
Well, now we're going to turn our attention elsewhere and talk about estate planning. And Steve Schmidt is an estate planning attorney, and he's going to stop by here and tell us why estate planning is so important, especially for those of us with a disability. Steve, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, that sort of thing, if you would.
I'm Steve Schmidt. I'm an attorney, and I've done a lot of estate planning. I've been an attorney for over 30 years, and basically my whole career I've worked with seniors and also other people that need really good estate planning. And basically everybody needs estate planning, but I've done a lot of estate planning and a lot of I worked a lot with people that maybe need to go on Medicaid for long-term care. So worked a lot with disabilities and older people and that type of thing.
So I guess that leads to my first question. Why is it important for every adult to have a will, power of attorney, or planning for health care?
There's a couple of reasons. One is you want to just have some good documents in place to kind of put out a roadmap. But maybe the most important thing is you want to make sure the right people are making decisions for you. So if you can't make your own decisions on finances or healthcare decisions, you want to make sure that the people that you trust and the people that you know are going to make good decisions are in place to do that.
What are the key differences between a will and a living trust? And I guess the big question is, why would someone choose one over the other?
Sure, yeah. Wills make sense for people a lot of times when they don't have as large of an estate. A lot of times younger couples use wills. And wills aren't that bad here in Nebraska. In some states, it's kind of difficult to use a will. But we prefer trusts for a lot of our clients. As they get a little bit older, maybe have a little bit larger estate, trusts just seem to make more sense because we can avoid the court system. And there's extra regulations and rules and stuff around the court system, and typically we don't need or want those. And there's usually more attorney fees involved with the court system. So we want to try to avoid the court system for most of our clients.
Can you explain what happens when someone doesn't have an estate plan in place?
Sure. If somebody doesn't do their own estate plan, or once in a while somebody does a really inexpensive do-it-yourself estate plan, if it's not done at all or not done very well, the state will step in. So the state of Nebraska or the state of Iowa does have an estate plan for you, but I still haven't found any client that wants to use the one provided by the state.
If you don't have a plan in place, then who makes decisions and why and how?
Well, if you don't have a plan in place and something happens, usually it's going to be a loved one or a close family member, close friend, something like that will step in and say, okay, we've got to get something taken care of. They'll go talk to an attorney, and the attorney will say, well, we've got to go talk to a judge. So if they don't have a plan in place, the process is basically you have to get the court to approve what you think the process should be. And it could be very contentious because sometimes you have different family members with very strong opinions and are not getting along. And so you can have a big court fight sometimes.
I would imagine, yeah. So what are some of the common, and maybe what you were just talking about would answer this, but what are some of the common unforeseen circumstances that estate planning helps protect against?
All sorts of things. Some of them have to do with family issues. We see a lot more blended families than we did maybe 30, 40 years ago. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. And, 30 years ago, there weren't as many blended families. There were some. But now there's a lot of different blended families. And you don't know sometimes what that other family situation is going to be like down the road. So ideally, you do an estate plan and you check it every 3 to 5 years unless something changes. But realistically, a lot of my clients, they do a good estate plan and they don't check it for 10, 15, maybe 20 years. And so you don't know in 15 or 20 years what your family dynamics are going to be like a lot of times. Maybe somebody passed away or somebody's not getting along, those types of things. So there's a lot of different family things that can change as well as assets and those types of things.
Sure, a lot can change in a short period of time, too.
Right.
So why is estate planning especially critical or important for families who have a child or a dependent with a disability? Since we're Outlook, let's talk about disabilities for a minute here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it becomes really critical when somebody potentially has some type of government assistance because sometimes parents don't think about that. Maybe their kids are all healthy at some point, or they just don't ever get it done. But if somebody's on government assistance and they end up getting, maybe it's only $20,000 or $200,000, but if they get some money, that can really mess up what's happening on the financial side with government assistance. They could totally take them off government assistance for a period of time, or it can just really not do anything to really benefit them. So, yeah, it's a good idea to protect those assets so that it doesn't mess up other sources of revenues and other financial benefits.
Can you explain how a trust, like a special needs trust, can ensure that a loved one with a disability maintains access to necessary benefits while still supported financially?
What happens is, again, one of the most important things is picking the right person to be the trustee. So maybe it's a close family member, maybe it's a really good friend, but a lot of times it's going to be maybe an outside, like a bank or something like that. But you want to make sure you have the right person making financial decisions because, usually when somebody's on some type of government assistance, it's okay for them to get some money, some income for some things, but not for other things. And so you want to make sure you have the right person or the right bank making those decisions on, yes, I can give $1,000 for them to go on a trip, or $1,000 to go out and buy something that they really want or really need, without giving them the wrong type of income that messes up their assistance.
How can a poorly structured inheritance unintentionally qualify someone with a disability for Medicaid or other essential government programs?
It's because those programs have pretty strict limits on the types of asset or the amount of assets and how much income somebody can get. So if the trust isn't set up correctly and gives too much in, maybe it's just like $20 too much of income or something like that, it can really mess up their benefits. Or maybe it gives them too much money, because a lot of times with Medicaid, you can only have $4,000 of total assets, which means, if you have $4,500 of something, now that could just totally take you off of some assistance that you're getting. So just got to be careful to make sure that any income or any distributions don't go afoul of what the regulations are for that assistance.
How does one do that? How do you keep on top of it? What suggestions would you have there?
Well, and again, there are some banks out there that do this on a regular basis. You can certainly work with one of them. And generally, if you've got the right person involved that's very diligent, they can stay on top of it pretty well too, because those rules don't change real often, and you just need to have a good process in place where if something does come up that you get notified. So again, an attorney can do that, or somebody that works in that area quite a bit can do that, or again, work with a good bank.
Sure, or someone you trust, if nothing else.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's very important. You got to be careful who you are actually, giving access to this information to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the person you trust needs to be able to, you need to make sure that they're going to have the best interests of your child at heart. Is really important. Then also another thing that's really important is just really good at record keeping, because occasionally maybe the state or a judge or somebody will need to go back and look at records from maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So you want to make sure that whoever's involved is keeping really good records.
Yeah, I would imagine that's very important. What advice do you have for parents that want to ensure their child with a disability is protected if something happens to them unexpectedly?
Well, a big thing is work with a good attorney that works at least a fair amount in this area, and then also just make sure you have the conversation with those people that potentially are going to be involved, whether it's a sibling or family member or somebody outside the family, so that they're aware. If something changes, that they may need to step in fairly quickly.
Can you talk about the role of a trustee or a guardian in these situations, and what qualities should families look for when choosing someone for that role?
Yeah. So again, with a trustee, that's on the financial side of things. You want to make sure that they're good at record keeping, really have the best interests in mind of the individual, that they understand at least some basics on investments and on some taxes, because there may be some tax issues that come up too. So some of those basic things are critical. On the guardianship side, just make sure that maybe they have a little bit of medical background can be helpful, but again, that they have the right professionals in place as far as doctors, nurses, and other types of services that are out there, just to be aware if something does change. How do they need to address that on the health side of things?
What are some common emotional hurdles families face when planning for end of life or long-term care decisions, and how do they overcome them?
Yeah, long-term care decisions, one of the big hurdles is just making sure you have the right people involved in the decision. So a lot of times it's not just a single person. A lot of times you want to have maybe 2 or 3 people that are aware of what's going on, and then how do you get those 2 or 3 people to make a good decision? So again, maybe you're going to have one as the primary decision maker, but having some help from the other ones. I see that a lot with seniors going into assisted living. Is sometimes you have 2 or 3 kids totally on different pages, and so you have to figure out, okay, who really has the best interests in mind of the individual.
How do families navigate the legacy they want to leave behind versus the legal or financial realities they must plan for?
Legacy is pretty important. In our culture, we don't necessarily value legacy as highly as other cultures do. But I tell you, I think almost every single one of my clients, as they get older, in their 60s, 70s, 80s, they start thinking about their legacy a lot more, because for most people, there's something that's maybe been driving them their entire lifetime, and maybe they've thought about, maybe they haven't. But if they take the time to kind of sit and think about what's important to them and what they're trying to accomplish, that can really make their last years, whether it's 5, 10, 20 years, their last years very productive and very meaningful. And I always encourage them not only to just pursue that themselves, but also talk to their family about that. Particularly if they have kids, tell their kids, hey, this is what's important to me. This is why I'm doing this. Because I can promise you, almost every time a child is going to be really interested in finding that out. And sometimes kids don't find that out until after the parent is gone.
Oh, I suppose not. And I would think, if the more planning you can do ahead of time before these crises even develop is going to make a major difference.
Exactly. Yeah, everyone, I don't care whether you're healthy or not, everyone should have an estate plan when they're about 19 or 20. Now, most kids when they're that young don't care. But yeah, as soon as somebody has a child, they really need to get an estate plan in place.
That makes sense. How can parents be intentional about sharing their values, not just their valuables, with their children, including those with disabilities?
It's interesting. Family heirlooms, a lot of times people don't realize the importance of family heirlooms, but maybe it's a grandfather clock, maybe it's a wedding ring, maybe it's the fishing pole or the cookie jar from when you're growing up. Those things are important. And, it's a good idea to make sure that, I've got 4 kids. I want each of my 4 kids to have something to remember me by, my wife by. But yeah, the legacy is more important than that. So legacy is, what do you really want to accomplish with your life? For me, I enjoy working with some kids in North Omaha that have grown up in poverty because we didn't have a lot of money when we grew up. And so how did I get from a place where I didn't really have money at all to where I'm an attorney and pretty successful, fairly successful. And I want to be able to help kids in North Omaha have that same experience. If they've grown up in poverty, how do they get out of that and how do they become successful? So things like that, I want my kids to understand that that's important to me, and that's a big driver for me is making sure that I give other people an opportunity to be successful that maybe don't have that without somebody coming in and helping them.
And that is a major, major undertaking, with some of those kids that you described too.
Exactly. Yeah.
How do you even get them thinking along these lines? And,
right. Yeah, and there's some good organizations that do that, and I'm a huge believer in nonprofits. I know Outlook's a great nonprofit. Hope Center is a great nonprofit in North Omaha, abides in North Omaha, and there's a brand new one called Maker, and Maker is and I'm involved with Maker, and Maker says, okay, how do we help these kids develop the skills they need and the work habits they need to be successful? So, yeah, there's great nonprofits, and that's where I always encourage people that have some money, give money to a great nonprofit like Outlook or Maker.
And believe me, certainly speaking for Outlook, we always appreciate those who do and can and all that sort of thing. But
exactly.
What is the 5-year look-back period with Medicaid? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So and this has a lot to do with people as they get older and have to go into long-term care. Long-term care, a lot of times is going to just be provided by, if you run out of money or don't have a lot of money, by the government. So Medicaid, not Medicare. Medicare and Medicaid are very different. Medicaid has a 5-year look back. So if I give away a bunch of assets to my kids or my favorite nonprofit, and then I'd want to go on Medicaid, Medicaid is going to say, okay, let's look at the last 5 years and see if you've made any of those gifts. And if you have, that's going to affect whether or not you're eligible. So you got to be really careful with just giving money to your kids or your favorite charity.
Why should families start planning for this sooner rather than later?
Good question. So I think a good time for long-term care planning is around the age of 75, because even if you're super healthy at 75, you don't know. You could have some fall, you could have something happen, and then you have to go into long-term care. So, and it's so much better to plan in advance. If somebody comes to me and says, hey, my mom has to go into assisted living next week because she's in rehab and she cannot go back home, we can still do some good planning, but it's so much better to do it several years in advance, because the planning is just easier, and we don't have to argue with Department of Health and Human Services, and it's just an easier process.
What myths about Medicaid or benefits do you commonly hear that need to be clarified for our listeners?
One of the myths is that the government wants to take your house. And no, that's not true. The government has no interest in taking your house, no matter whether you're healthy or not. If you have too many assets, they may make you sell the house, but they don't want to actually take your house. So, yeah, Medicaid's a good system. It's just you got to make sure that you understand the rules, or it can really mess up the planning that you need to have happen.
So how can families identify and choose professionals that can help them on their journey here? I think you kind of talked about that a little earlier, actually.
Yeah, and Omaha is really good at networking. So if you have a good financial advisor, they can help you find a good attorney. Or if you have a good relationship with somebody, sometimes at a nonprofit, they know who those good attorneys are. So, yeah, you need a good CPA a lot of times, a good financial advisor, a good attorney. And again, Omaha is really good at helping people find those people if you don't have them. I can certainly help you if you have questions, because I know some good ones out there too.
By the way, how do we contact you if somebody does have questions? They may have questions just from this alone. How can they get in touch with you?
Email's probably the best. So Steve at Orr Law Group, ORRLAWGRP, Steve at orrlawgroup.com. It's probably the best way to get a hold of me. Yeah, shoot me an email. Go on our website, and it'll tell you there how to get a hold of me.
I know it sounds boring, but can you give the web address one more time so we're sure we have it?
Orr Law Group. Yeah, it's just ORR for Orr Law Group. And yeah, if you go on there, it'll tell you how to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you for taking time out of, I know, a very busy day for you, running around and getting all these people planned and in place correctly. We really appreciate you stopping by here at Outlook, and appreciate spending some time with you and giving you a chance to explain these programs.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, Dennis.
You're welcome, sir. Well, folks, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this edition of Outlook on Air, but we certainly hope you've enjoyed the program. We hope to see you back here again for another edition of Outlook on Air. And if you'd like more information about Outlook Enrichment, or anything Outlook for that matter, make sure you visit our website at www.outlooken.org. That's www.outlooken.org. Or you can always call us for more information or to schedule any kind of an appointment at area code 531-365-5051. That's area code 531-365-5051. And don't forget to subscribe to our monthly newsletter so that you can find out when the next podcast is available. And we hope to see you then on the next edition of Outlook on Air.